recording to the cloud. Okay, so welcome everybody to the Honors Transfer Seminar, Fall 2020 edition. This is a very different way of doing things. We are accustomed to doing this in person. I know that we have many students here from the Sam Draper Honors Program at RCC, but I'm also well aware that we have lots of people who may not be in the Honors Program or who are in Phi Theta Kappa. And so I'm really, really happy that you all have joined us. So I'm actually going to share my screen and I'm going to deliver a presentation to you. And after I do that, so when I have finished with my presentation, I'm going to take any questions that you have. If you do have a burning question, and actually I just recalled I can't do it this way. So I'm going to actually present it to you this way, no big problem. If you do have any burning questions, you can put them in the chat, but I might not see them right away. So I'm gonna do my best to circle back to the chat at a few different intervals. And what this is gonna cover, we're gonna cover a few different topics. First of all, we are going to cover finding the right schools to apply to. How do you do that as a transfer student? We're also gonna cover, and let me go to my agenda slide here, we're also going to cover how do you apply. There are a lot of different ways to apply. What are the different elements of the application once you've decided that you are going to apply to certain schools? I want to talk to you a little bit about scholarships. We are going to have an interactive portion. So near the end of this, we're going to do a brief Kahoot. It'll be an 8-minute Kahoot to get everybody, interacting and reinforcing what you've learned today. We'll talk a little bit about moving forward. What's your timeline for the kinds of things you need to do and when you need to do them by. And then, like I said, we're going to have plenty of time for questions. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Lynch. I'm the chair of the Sam Draper Honors Program at RCC. Really glad you're here today. And I just want to start this process by telling you the story of the gentleman you see before you, whose name is Duran Payne. Duran came to RCC as a high school graduate, so he was not an early admit student or a student who was finishing their senior year in high school here. Duran came to play basketball. He wanted to lead RCC's basketball team to a state championship. And he didn't quite succeed in that goal, but what happened was that one of his professors realized that he's a pretty smart guy and he was working really hard and recommended that he join the honors program. And when Duran joined the honors program, he then became eligible to go to Cambridge. You don't have to be in the honors program to go to Cambridge, but we can offer a partial scholarship to students who are in the honors program and who plan to complete the honors program. And so Duran went to Cambridge, where he took this very dapper photograph. And he came back from Cambridge. He was doing really well in his classes, and he applied to Georgetown University, among many other universities. And he and I worked together really hard on his application. And he ended up being accepted to Georgetown. And he went to Georgetown, and he actually received close to a full scholarship from Georgetown, need-based scholarship, not about merit. Most of those tier 1 and Ivy League institutions don't give merit-based scholarships, but they do meet need. And that is really important. So that's his story. He was one of our wonderful panelists on our Black Lives Matter panel earlier in this year. And I just wanted to share that with you as an example of what is possible. Do all of you need to go to Georgetown? Of course not, right? Not all of you would want to go to Georgetown. Do all of you need to go to a tier 1 institution like Georgetown? No, you should go to the school that's best for you. But part of my job today is to help you figure out, how do I find those schools? And how do I put my best foot forward and create a really strong, successful transfer application? That is the goal of today. Now, unfortunately, there are some struggles here. And so this is a nice GIF. This is a nice Katniss GIF, okay? And Katniss, this nice tagline from the Hunger Games, may the odds be ever in your favor. This is true. We want the odds to be in your favor, but you need to understand something about this process, okay? There is no guarantee that you will be accepted by your school that you want to attend, okay? Not even if you have a perfect 4.0 GPA, not even if you have done all the right things and been accepted to, all kinds of honor societies and you've done a lot of extracurriculars. Let me put it to you this way. Our student trustee, who is a wonderful person last year, right? Thomas Leonard, you probably saw his picture and his video about the fund that he created to help RCC students. He also ended up getting into Georgetown, and he got into some other places as well, but he was also rejected by some places. And he, put in so much effort on his applications. So what I'm telling you is, You will get rejected from some places. It's going to happen, okay? It happens to almost everybody who goes through this process. Just remember one thing. When a school rejects you, it's not about you, it's about them. No school can tell you what you are worth. Only you can tell you what you are worth. And this is a really stressful process. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm going to throw a lot of information at you. You're going to feel stressed out by this. We can get through this together. But what you want to understand is that, even if you do everything right, you still might not get in everywhere that you want to get into. So please, please, please make sure that you understand that luck is part of this process. It's really, really important to apply to at least one reach school, one target school, and one safe school. And what does that mean? So we're going to talk about what those terms mean. They are terms that you may have encountered in the past. So we'll talk a little bit about them. First of all, like I said before, there's no best school, just a best school for you. I know there are lots of rankings out there. This is the best school for psychology. This is the best school for English, the best school for math, the best school for physics. Okay, but are those schools the best for you? Because that's the school you're looking for. So first, to figure out what is safe, what is a target, and what is a reach school, you need to compare your GPA and your standardized test scores to the average GPA and the test scores of students at each of the colleges that you're interested in applying to. And just a quick reminder, if you're not muted, just make sure you mute yourself, okay? Because we're getting a little bit of feedback. Thanks. First of all, so yes, we want to make sure we're comparing ourselves to what the schools want. And that can be a daunting process. That can be a little stressful. But make sure that you know what the statistics are. We're going to talk about what those statistics are and talk about how to find them. It's going to be really interesting, actually, to do some of this research together. I'm excited for that. The other questions to consider are, what do you want? What matters to you? Does prestige matter? Do you really want an elite school? Does size matter? Does location, does the ratio of faculty to student? Do you want a place where there's a very few number of students per faculty member, like an 8-to-1 or a 9-to-1, a 10-to-1? Or does it not matter to you that you have easy access to the faculty and you're more comfortable with a larger ratio? Are there certain extracurriculars that you're drawn to? Do you need a school that has an archery team? Okay, if you need a school that has an archery team, then great. Make sure you're only applying to schools with archery teams. Okay. And so also your major, you want to make sure that the major that you want to pursue is available at your school. And all of this research can be done online. I'm going to tell you a lot to Google, Google, Google. Okay. And if you're having trouble understanding what you see when you Google, you should definitely let me know, let your academic advisor know, let your honors mentor know, and we will help you decode that information. It can be hard to understand a school's website. Okay. Finally, if you can demonstrate financial need, many, though not all, private schools will meet that need and bring the cost down so that it's comparable to a public school. Again, that's not true for all schools, but it is true for many, for some. All right, as I've mentioned, research is paramount. Every school is different. There is no monolithic answer to how transferring works. So for example, I've given you 2 examples here, and I will share these slides, okay, after we're finished. So, so you can click through on these clickable links. Mercy College accepts up to 75 transfer credits from 2-year schools, right? You only need 60 some to graduate with an associate degree, but if you took some extra courses at some point, you could transfer 75 in from RCC. Harvard, by contrast, is not going to accept you if you've attended college for less than 1 year or more than 2 years. They have this really narrow window in which you can apply to Harvard, okay? So you have to do that research and you have to record what you find. If you're in the honors program, I sent out a template of a Google Sheet that I recommend you use to keep track of schools and their requirements. I'm happy to share that with anybody else at all, because it's a really useful way to keep track of the information that you're finding. Also, if you are transferring in as a junior, and most of you will be, right? Most of you will have spent 2 years at RCC before you transfer. The school that you transfer to is going to expect that you know your major. If you had started at a 4-year school, you would be expected to declare a major at the end of your sophomore year, okay? So it's really important to make sure that you have a plan in place. If you're still struggling with that, if you're still working on that, that's okay. We can help you. but make sure you're talking to your mentor and your advisor, who will give you some tools to try to determine, where are you headed? What's your plan? Now, look, if you say you're going to major in English, and then you decide to major in something like history, probably that won't be a big deal when you get to the school, because English and history are relatively close to each other. They're generally housed in the same part of a university. But if you say you want to major in history, and then when you go to that school, you say you want to major in business, you may be out of luck, because oftentimes an undergraduate business school is an entirely separate part of an institution from what's called their College of Arts and Science, where you're more, your other disciplines would be housed, like English, history, science, psychology, all of that, okay? So you do want to do your research. You want to have a sense of what your focus will be. You will often be expected to express that focus and to talk about it on your application. Okay, so I've got a cute little GIF here. Let's see if we can make that work. Here's, how cats like to try to cram themselves into a box? Well, here you go. The cat clearly does not fit in that box, okay? You want to make sure that, unlike this poor cat, you fit at the college where you are applying. So there's a few different ways to do this research, and I'm going to just do an overview now, but if you want to actually look at some of these in depth, we're going to do that later on for sure. Again, these links are going to be live and clickable for you when you receive the PDF. So you want to start by looking at rankings in many cases, unless you're absolutely sure where you want to go. US News and World Report is a publication, it's now online, that gives you every year a list of the best colleges, and they have ranked them and they've used certain metrics to do that. Does that mean that the best college is the best college for you? No, of course not. You'll get very tired of me saying that, but it's true. You also want to research colleges by looking at their websites. And I've given you two here, one very competitive, the University of Pennsylvania, and another in the same state, but much less competitive, Temple University, still a great institution. When you look at these websites, you must find information specific to transfer students. Do not look at information for first-year students. The deadlines are different. The processes are different. The application portal is different. There is a common application for transfer. There is a common application for first-year students. So unless you are an early admit student currently, and you're currently still in high school, and you've come to learn a little bit of hints and tips for applying to college, if that's you, then you're applying as a first-year student. But everybody else who's already graduated from high school and who's here at RCC getting a degree or working toward that, you are applying as a transfer student, and you should only look at the deadlines and the information for transfer students, okay? There's tons of online tools available. I've linked a few of them here. I'm going to talk about the last two first. So collegetransfer.net, transferweb.com. These are places where they have information about transfer statistics, but sometimes their information is a little bit old. PTK Connect is available to Phi Theta Kappa members, and Phi Theta Kappa is an international two-year honors society. We have a chapter here at RCC. Dr. Butler and I are the co-advisors. If you are a member of Phi Theta Kappa, I strongly suggest that you go and use this tool right away. You can apply for scholarships through Phi Theta Kappa. You can also use this tool, PTK Connect, to help you search out schools and scholarships. So it's a very, very powerful tool. Now, I do want to take a little break from the presentation for a second, because I want to show you this next part, the common data set, okay? So I am actually going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to start sharing another screen. So give me 1 second. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to share my whole desktop so that we don't run into that issue again. Oh, there's the Kahoot that we're going to do later. So let's just demo doing a Google search, because sometimes I think it's helpful to have a Google search, okay? We're just going to do a quick demo. So let's say that I'll do Temple. We'll do Temple University Transfer. You'll see that I prepped for this one, okay? And if we Google Temple University Transfer, I'm looking down here and I'm seeing, I don't really like clicking on the ads, but I'm looking down here, I see the site admissions.temple.edu and transfer students. So I'm going to click there, okay? When I do, I want to double check. Yes, I'm in undergraduate admissions. That's where I should be. I'm at a site for transfer students. That's where I should be. okay? And then I'm going to look at what Temple is going to show me here. So they actually tell you what a transfer student is for them. Different schools have different definitions, believe it or not. So you want to make sure you know, are you a transfer student? In this case, if you've completed or if you've attempted 15 or more college credits, you're a transfer student, okay? Then they have a whole bunch of contents here, how to apply. You have to apply using what's called the common application. We're going to go into depth on that in just a few minutes. There is a fee, although you might be able to qualify for a fee waiver, and we'll talk about that as well. You can also apply in paper. Some schools don't allow you to do that. I would not do it, but you have that option. And then what they look for. So this is really important. They look at your academic history, meaning your RCC transcript, okay? And here is where you start to find some of that really helpful information. The average GPA for incoming fall 2019 transfer students was 3.14, okay? That's good news for many of you. You're like, oh, wait a second, my GPA is stronger than that. I feel like maybe Temple is a target school for me, okay? Now, can Temple ever be a safe school? I don't know. I'm not sure a school like Temple I would ever call a truly safe school. But if your GPA is 3.5, 3.6, you are offering a higher GPA than they are asking for. And that would make it a target school for you, okay? If your GPA is closer to a 3.1, you know, it might be a little more of a reach for you, okay? So that's something to consider when you're comparing what you have to give to what Temple is looking for, all right? Then not only do they want your RCC transcript, they want your high school transcript, and it needs to be official. The RCC transcript needs to be official. That means RCC sends it to Temple. Your high school transcript needs to be official. Your high school has to send it to Temple. If you received a GED, oh, looks like someone's not muted, so if you could please double check that you're muted, that would really help. Thank you so much. Your high school has to send it to Temple, but if you got a GED, then you need an official GED or high school equivalency to be sent to Temple. You are going to have to do an essay. They're not telling you what it is here. They give you, kind of high level idea, but you'll see that essay on the common application, and we can look at the whole bunch of essays later. You should definitely include extracurricular activities. This is why it's really important to get involved and to become, to sort of have a record of involvement either in your community or at your college. If you work a lot, that's an example of an extracurricular activity. If you have to babysit your siblings for 5 hours a week, that's an example, right? If you've founded your own business, that's an example. So anything outside of class is an extracurricular activity. You're also going to have to submit standardized test scores if the school says you do. And here Temple says if you have at least 15 college credits, SAT or ACT scores are not usually required. Well, pretty much everybody in this seminar has at least 15 college credits, okay? Some of you are first-year students. Good for you for getting a jump on the process. You will have that probably by the time you're finished with your first semester. A letter of recommendation. For Temple, it's optional. For many schools, it's not, okay? In this case, they accept a letter. If you already have people writing for you, you may as well send a letter along. It never hurts. But look here, your letter should be submitted by individuals who can speak to your academic abilities and personal accomplishments, such as an advisor or a professor. Really important, someone who has taught you in class. I'll be reiterating that in a little while. Now, if you are applying to a specialized program, for example, the Tyler School of Art and Architecture or the Boyer College of Music and Dance, you're going to need to submit an audition for the music and dance school, and you're going to need to submit a portfolio for the art school, and that is pretty common. So make sure if you're applying to a program like that, that you take those deadlines into account, those extra steps that you're going to need to accomplish, okay? And then, if we look down here, there are important dates for transfer students. Temple's deadline is really late. It is June 1st. Most of your deadlines are gonna fall between January of 2021, if you're applying for 2021, okay? And April, most of them. But some of them will be outside of that range, and Temple is one. Their deadline is June 1st. Note though, they are reviewed on a rolling basis. So the sooner you submit your application, the sooner you get a decision. Wouldn't you rather submit it in February and have a decision by April? Definitely you would, okay? It's a stressful thing to wait for acceptances. So consider that. In terms of what credits transfer, generally Temple accepts academic college level courses with a grade of C or better, okay? That's that's really helpful. That's helpful for you to know whether you're calibrated appropriately, right? Am I going to be able to transfer all of my credits in? There may be times when you need to submit your syllabi for a certain class or courses to be evaluated by the school. So one of the things that I've recommended to, the honor students is make sure you keep your syllabus from every class, from every semester. All right, that's whether it was given to you in paper or now given to you electronically, probably, make sure you keep it. Okay. And so one other thing to note, you're going to see a lot of little COVID-19 announcements. Pay attention to those. A lot of schools have adjusted their transfer policies, their standardized testing policies because of COVID. So just keep an eye out for that. A lot of schools, for example, have said, normally we require the SAT. This year, we're not requiring it because of COVID. So just keep an eye out. Okay. And then they have this nice transfer equivalency tool that you can use. Not every place has this. This is, to be honest, a very strong website, very clear, and it really is helpful. If you run into a website that's less helpful, you should definitely let your advisor know, and we'll help you look at it together. Okay. Look at the scholarship information. New transfer students who have a GPA of 3.3 or higher are considered for scholarships automatically. Great reason to have a high GPA. Okay, so that's really exciting. And then they have a few other resources here. For example, this is a great video of a student who transferred, and she's talking about her experience. I'm also going to send out a reminder to many of you, and new information to some. We had an honors alumni transfer, like a panel over the summer. And it was a great event where a bunch of honors alumni talked about their transfer experiences. And I'll send you the recording because it's important to be able to, learn from people who have come before you. And they have a lot of great advice for you. And then finally, there's usually a way for you to contact the admissions officers. And that's a good idea to do. If you have any questions about the what's on the website, contact their admissions office. Okay, so this is just one example of how to Google, how to get research out of this experience. Okay, when you're interested in a school, what should you do? Well, you should Google, you should look at what the school is trying to tell you, and then see if you have any questions and follow up. Now I'm going to ask for your participation. Okay, so let me know what school would you like me to look up next, because I'm about to do something called the common data set. And I want to take a quick look at a school that you are interested in. So give me something in the chat. What school are you interested in? Who's got a school they're interested in? No? Nobody wants to give me a... Huh, really? All right, I can make one up on my own, but I'd rather do something you want.
A whole bunch of people are putting stuff in the chat.
A whole bunch of people. Oh, really? Okay, hang on. I must not be able to see the chat. Just a second. Oh, here we go. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Okay, let's see. So let's do one. We got Smith. Thank you, guys. I for some reason my chat button wasn't working when I was sharing my screen, so that's all right. Okay, I see Emory. All right, we're gonna start with. I'm just gonna take the first one I saw. So let me share my screen again. Okay, here we go. And we're gonna go over here. And we're going to look up. Now, I want you to pay really close attention to what I do here. I'm going to, in quotation marks, type the words Emory University. Okay? And then I'm going to do a space. And in quotation marks, I am going to type the phrase, common data set. When I do that, I'm going to hit enter. Now, I've never done this for Emory, but what you're going to find is pretty standard. It's going to look a little different. But it's going to actually have very similar information. This is the way to find the most up-to-date transfer admission statistics for pretty much any school. It's mandatory that they release this information. And this was a trick that one of your peers taught me a few years ago. And ever since then, I've used it a bazillion times. I encourage you to do it. When you Google this, okay, you're going to click on Common Data Set Emory University, and we're going to see what pops up here. Okay. So this is from their Office of Institutional Research. And if we look at the most recent one, 2019 to 2020, we're taken to this screen. Now, I'm going to make this bigger for you, okay? Hopefully that's big enough for you to see. First of all, Remember that you're a transfer student. You only want transfer information. So you can start scrolling. And I know this is going to go quickly, but I know exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go a little slower than normal. I just want to show you, look at the enrollment here, okay? We have, degree seeking, first-time freshmen, other first-year degree seeking, all other degree seeking, okay? We are actually wanting to scroll all the way down until we get to their actual transfer statistics. And they should be broken out in a separate section. So let me just keep scrolling here. Okay, do not look at first-time, first-year freshman admission. You don't care. You're a transfer student, okay? Don't even look at it. It does not affect you. Keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Sorry if I'm making you seasick. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Transfer admission, now we care. Okay, here's what you want to look at. Does your institution enroll transfer students? Yes, excellent. If yes, may transfer students earn advanced standing credit by transferring credits earned from coursework completed at other colleges? Meaning, can you get credit at Emory for classes you've taken at another college like RCC? Yes, that's good news. Now, this is what you really want to know, okay? How many students applied in fall 2019? How many were admitted? And how many enrolled? Now, in order to get the percentage of admission, you need to take this number here, admitted applicants, divide it by this number here, and multiply that number by 100. That's your percent, okay, of admitted applicants. And then you see how many enrolled. So this gives you a very, very up-to-date understanding of how many students applied to Emory and then were accepted by Emory and then actually went to Emory as transfer students, okay, as transfer students. That's really interesting. That's really important. Okay, now I can't see what's going on in chat while I'm sharing my screen, so I'll address the comments that I see are popping up. I'll do my best to address them soon. Okay, so we've got a little bit of other information here, including this. The high school transcript is required, the college transcript is required, an essay is required. An interview is not required. Standardized test scores is required for some students, probably the ones who don't have very many college credits under their belt, but we'd have to go look at that. Statement of good standing, I'll tell you about what that is. That's basically the college report, which is an important piece of paperwork you'll need to fill out, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, I think that's pretty much most of the transfer information that you want. Maybe you're interested in this. The lowest grade earned for any course that may be transferred is a C. Okay, the maximum number of credits that may be transferred from a two-year institution is 62. Okay, that fits really, really well with the degrees that you're all pursuing. Here, if you are a veteran or if you're in the military, then this section will be very interesting and useful to you. Okay, so let me pause for a second and see what's going on in the chat. And Skylar has a great question. So for all of you who put in wonderful schools that you're interested in looking at, I really, really advise you to go and do what I just did for the schools that you're interested in, okay? Your school's name in quotation marks, common data set. And do I recommend, so Skylar is asking, do I recommend a college with a strong transfer community? I think it helps, for sure. A school with a strong transfer community is a school that has made investments in helping you as transfer students settle into that school. They may have transfer-specific, residence halls. They may have transfer-specific activities. More and more colleges are investing in this kind of thing because they've started to realize how important it is to nurture transfer students. But, will you not have a good time if you're at a college that doesn't accept many transfers? No, you can still thrive there, absolutely. But again, that's really your personal decision. I'll tell you a school that has a really good transfer community is Binghamton. Binghamton, a third of their student body is transfer students, okay? And it's easier to get into Binghamton as a transfer student than it is to get in as a first-year student, just so you know, okay? So let's go back. I'm going to take you back to my presentation. Okay, we're going to keep moving forward here. All right. Oh, let's keep going. We have our nice cat. So a few other pieces of advice in terms of finding the right fit. If you can, find some alumni, and the honors program can help you with that. Find some alumni who have attended the colleges you're interested in and talk to them about it. If you can visit the campus, that's ideal, because there is something really magical about that experience, especially for those of you who may have taken Myers-Briggs or 16 personalities or another test like that, a personality test, and you have learned that you are a very intuitive person. If that's true, you often have these gut feelings in response to things, and you're going to want to try to set foot on a campus to see if that intuition is sparked. Again, it's not the only piece of data you use, whether you have a good feeling about something, but it's an extra piece. And if that's important to you, you want to try to visit a campus. Some of you are going to apply to schools that are across the country or across the world. In the world of COVID, it is not an easy thing to visit places, so you may not be able to do this. In that case, try to take a virtual tour. More and more schools are offering virtual tours. I just sent you all some information about Georgia Tech, which has launched a virtual tour. Okay, I sent that to the honors students earlier today. Talk to students, try to do a virtual tour. If you can't visit a place, but you can visit a place that's similar to it, try that, right? For example, urban campus, right? Let's say that you're interested in Boston University, but you can't get up to Boston University. Go visit NYU, see how that feels to you. They're pretty similar in terms of how they work, right? They both are, in the middle of a big city. And, that might help you decide, do I really like that? Do I like the idea of being in the middle of a big city? Or do I want a more like residential kind of atmosphere, a more suburban or rural atmosphere? Make sure you're talking this over with people from your family, friends, your honors mentor, your academic advisor. Don't do this process alone. Also, I've noticed that the honor students in particular tend to have this little box that you think inside, okay? And it's the Northeast, because that's what you're used to, most of you. Think outside the box. There are so many great schools outside the box. In the Mid-Atlantic, there's William and Mary, okay? There's Gettysburg. Those are just two great schools. Gettysburg mascot is the spider. That's kind of interesting. Haverford, University of Virginia. There's all these great schools in the Mid-Atlantic. In the South, you have Wake Forest. Their mascot is the Demon Deacon, which is probably the weirdest one I've ever heard of. Duke University, Davidson, which is a great liberal arts school in North Carolina. UNC Chapel Hill. We've had a lot of students transfer successfully to Chapel Hill, and their credits have transferred really, really well. Rice University in Texas. In the Midwest, you have Grinnell in Iowa, Carleton College in Minnesota, Northwestern University in Chicago, or a suburb of Chicago, Evanston. You have Notre Dame University in Indiana. In the West, you have all of the Claremont colleges, and I saw that Tatiana mentioned Scripps, which is a part of that consortium. You have Colorado College, which does this really cool thing. It may be wild and crazy, but it's kind of cool. You take one class at a time, 3.5 weeks per class, 3 hours every day, one class at a time. Isn't that crazy? Reed College out in Oregon, okay? Occidental out in California. Just, these are only a taste, but don't limit yourself. Now, if you have a good reason to stay close to home, then of course, stay close to home. But you don't, there's so many great schools in the country and across the world. So don't put yourself into a tiny box unless that's where you want to be. All right? So how do we do this thing? How do we actually apply to transfer schools? In a minute, I am going to demonstrate the common application for transfer for you. Most of the colleges that you apply to will use either the common application for transfer or the coalition application. In general, I see students mostly using the common application. You may have run into it before. It's going to be a little different if you applied through the common application to places as a first-year student, or as a high school senior, I should say, applying as a first-year student. But if you are applying as a transfer student, you have to use the common application for transfer. It's a different thing. So make sure that you are creating an account on that application, not just reusing your account on the common application that you may have encountered in high school, okay? However, there are some schools that do not allow you to use any other application than their own, and I'm listing a few important examples below. CUNY has its own application. Hunter, Baruch, City College, John Jay, Queens College, et cetera, et cetera. They are all going to ask you to use cuny.edu. And incidentally, CUNY's deadline is one of the earliest. It is always February 1st of the year that you want to transfer. So for you all, 2021, you have to send that application in by February 1st. That date is going to sneak up on you. It's going to be the winter holidays and New Year's, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait a second, my college application to CUNY is due in 1 month. So be really careful about that one. Okay, don't make yourself panic at the last minute. Make sure that you are paying attention if you intend to apply to CUNY. Georgetown has its own application. MIT has its own application. If you are eligible for Columbia's School of General Studies, that has its own application. And many people are and many people are not. So I'm going to explain that in a little bit. All right, I'll explain it now. The short version is you have to have taken a break for a year from higher education. So you graduated high school and at some point you took a 365-day break, consecutive, okay? Or you're a veteran. If you have done either of those things, you should absolutely apply to the Columbia University School of General Studies. You will take classes the same as everybody else at Columbia, but it's easier to get in to GS, as it's known, okay? And so usually we're able to have a virtual, well, usually it's in person. Usually we have a session with the director of admissions from Columbia GS. I've reached out to him, haven't heard back. I'm sure he's very busy with all the craziness of this semester, but we hope to be able to offer that again in a virtual environment later this semester, okay? Finally, and most importantly for many of you, if you are applying to a SUNY school, Binghamton, Buffalo, Stony Brook, Oneonta, Oswego, all of the above, you have to use the SUNY.edu application. Don't use the Common App. I'm not going to stand on my chair and shout at you, but really don't, because if you use the Common App, you're giving yourself more work. You have to apply to those places through SUNY.edu. And when you do that, you won't have to pay a fee, right? Usually an application comes with a fee. You have to pay a fee or you have to get a waiver for the fee. But if you apply through SUNY.edu, because you are transferring from SUNY, RCC, to SUNY, Binghamton, Buffalo, etc., you don't have to pay a fee, okay? So make sure that you apply that way. Let's talk about the Common App, okay? And I'm gonna take a quick look at the chat for a minute. We're gonna talk about the Common App for transfer. Let's see, okay, so, okay. So also, as I'm gonna call up another site, remember, if you are applying to a private school, okay, oftentimes, and even a school out of state that is a public school, sometimes those schools can meet your financial need. Remember the story of Duran. He got a full ride almost to Georgetown, and he only got that money because of his financial need. So don't necessarily, make sure you fill out the FAFSA, make sure you fill out, all the right documentation, but, don't necessarily be discouraged, because there is a chance, especially if you have a lot of financial need, for you to get a lot of money out of these places. Okay, it's really exciting. So let me share my screen again. All right, here we go. So we're gonna go to the Common App for Transfer, Common Application for Transfer. Now, I always have an account. I am a perpetually applying but never completing my application transfer student. And the reason I do this is so that I know exactly what you're seeing every year so that I can help you, okay? So I'm gonna log into my pretend student account, and this is what it looks like, okay? There are 4 quadrants and there are also some stuff to do up here. So let's do this. Let me add a program, okay? I'm gonna go back. What was a school that I saw that people wanted to add? Let me see. I can't access it now. I want to add a school that some of you care about. I remember seeing Scripps. Let's see if we can do that. Okay. So when I go to add program, you see that I type the name of the school into the search bar. Okay, I'll do it again just to make sure. I'm here in add program, and I go and I type the name of the school, Scripps. Okay, and it's going to come up. It's going to ask me if I want fall 2021 transfer or spring 2021 transfer. I want fall 2021. Now, real quick, we're going to add Scripps. In fact, we'll add it right now. But what if I typed Rutgers? Okay, well, wait, let me make sure I typed it right. I spelled it right. Okay, yep. So what would you do now? You would go to Rutgers's website, where you would find that Rutgers has its own application. They don't do the Common App. So if you can't find a school, the next step is to go to their website and search, okay? Now, I have added some schools to my application. I actually have added 2 beforehand because I was doing some work with some students. So I think I have 3 schools here so far. In this particular application, you are going to go quadrant by quadrant. You are going to start with personal information. And this is information that's going to get sent to all of the schools that you apply to through the Common Application. You have to do things like set up your preferences for communication. You have to talk a little bit about you, who you are. You have to answer a whole bunch of questions, okay? And you can click through it this way: your contact information, your citizenship information, your race and ethnicity, whether you've been in the military. The thing I want to highlight here is the fee waiver, okay? So check this out. If your financial circumstances might qualify you for an application fee waiver, you click yes, okay? Do you feel that your financial circumstances might qualify you for an application fee waiver? Yes, okay? Now, here, you have to have one of these indicators. You're eligible to receive a Pell Grant. Your family income falls within the range here, and you can Google that to discover what that is. Your family receives public assistance. You live in subsidized housing, you're in the foster home, or you're homeless. You can provide a supporting statement from a school official or somebody else, right, about the fact that you are in financial need. Your academic advisor can help you with this. Your honors mentor can help you with this. You are enrolled in a federal, state, or local program that assists students from low-income families. And then you would, have this, you sign it here, you'd sign it electronically. This is important. If you qualify for a fee waiver, please, please, please make sure you fill out this information, okay? Really important. So if we go back to our application, once you've done your personal information, you do your academic history. You have to talk about high school. You have to talk about college, what courses you took in college, your GPA, standardized tests. They're not mandatory for the Common App, but they might be mandatory for certain schools. Your advanced placement, IB, all of this stuff. So a lot of this is not mandatory. The high school, though, is mandatory, and so is the college coursework. So you need to, tell them what colleges you attended, what you took in those colleges, what your GPA is. Yes, you will still submit an official transcript. There is some duplication here, okay? All of this is stuff you can start doing right now, my friends. You are watching a TV show? Start doing this on the laptop while you're watching a TV show or on your tablet or whatever, right? You're watching some football, do it while you're watching football. This is stuff that is not brain surgery here. So you can actually, do it and just kind of do it piece by piece by piece, okay? Obviously, you want to make sure you're entering the appropriate information. You want to double check everything, but this isn't the hard part of the application, okay? The hard parts are coming. In supporting information, you're going to now want to pay extra attention and be very, very good at filling out this part, your experiences, okay? This is stuff like community engagement, extracurriculars, family responsibilities, hobbies, internships, research, volunteering, work, etc. Okay? When you add an experience, you're going to select what type it is. You're going to talk a little bit about the organization. Only the things with red asterisks are required. You're going to offer the name of your supervisor if you want. Again, it is not required. It doesn't have a red asterisk. You're going to talk about when you did it, what your title was, whether you did it for money or you were a volunteer or you got credit for it. For example, if you did an internship at RCC, you could put the internship in here and you would say you received academic credit, okay? Now this part, the description / key responsibilities. If you already have a resume that's up to date, you can just copy and paste this stuff in. But otherwise, you want to spend the time to make sure that you're telling in this section what you did. And you may end up in a question for an essay being asked to elaborate on one of these experiences, okay? So this is a great place to highlight everything you do outside of class. And it's really important that you do that. If you have any achievements, okay? So for example, an award, an honor, a publication. Let's say that you were able to present at a conference, or you got a SUNY Chancellor's Award, or you won an essay competition, or anything like this, right? In the community, in school, you would do the same thing as you do in achievements or in experiences. You make sure you describe it. In documents, okay? This is very, very, very important. You want to understand a few things about this particular section. It holds a bunch of paperwork that you will need, especially if you are applying to more elite schools. The more elite the school, the more hoops they make you jump through, okay? That's a general rule of thumb. And I say that having gone to fancy school, okay? You know, full respect for fancy school, but they're gonna make you jump through a whole bunch of hoops. So just be aware of that and be ready. First of all, the college report. This has to be downloaded, filled out by you, printed out and given to somebody like me, your academic advisor, or if you're in the honors program, you give it to me. And then I have to send this to the school, okay? This is a stumbling block for some people, so make sure that you take note of whether your college needs it or not. Remember when I said there was, I think it was Temple that wanted that verification that you are in good standing? That's basically the college report. That's what they're going to be looking for. Okay. Many schools also want what's called a midterm report, and that you fill out in the spring semester. Most of this you fill out in the spring semester. Okay. The midterm report, that's a list of the classes you're taking currently, and each of your professors signs off on how you're doing in that class. They write a little note and they sign off. Now, you might be asking me, how on earth are we going to make all this happen in COVID? That's a great question. And I think there's going to be some adjustments that are necessary. We will work on that together. I don't want you to panic. I'm going to help you with that. We're going to cross that bridge when we come to that bridge. Okay. Right now, I don't know, but we're not going to leave you behind. I was able to do this for a lot of students in the spring during COVID. And the way it would work is they would send me a picture of these forms, or they would send me a scanned copy of these forms. I'd print them out, sign them, send them to the institution via email. We made it work. Okay, so nobody's getting left behind here. We're going to give you all the support that you need. Check out the secondary school final report. Secondary school is high school. So this means if the school wants that from you, if a college wants this from you, you have to download this, give it to your high school, have them fill it out when they're sending your transcript. So just pay really close attention to what do my schools want, okay? And then the affirmation statements, you're just saying everything is true, everything is accurate. Finally, program materials is where all of the scary stuff resides, the essays, okay? I know those are daunting for everybody. You'll see that I have added 3 schools so far: Cornell, Scripps, and Stevens, okay? And all of this was, except for Scripps, this was done with you know, students who asked me for help, you know, a couple weeks ago. So what I want you to do is let's look at Stevens first. When you click on Stevens, you're going to see you have these tabs up here: home, questions, documents, and recommendations. Home is basic information about the school. Questions is one place where an essay assignment can live. Okay, essay assignments live in questions and in documents. It's a little tricky, so make sure you look through both sections carefully. When you do, you are going to answer all these questions here. Most of them are just little radio button questions or drop-down menu questions, okay? And then finally, here we get an essay, and it's like what I said it would be. Please briefly elaborate on one of your extracurricular activities or work experiences. Okay, so take the most interesting extracurricular or work thing that you've done and write more about it here. Write a really great, you know, true anecdote, okay, a story, but a true story about something that happened to you, some challenge you overcame, what you did, the really awesome thing that you accomplished as part of this organization or as the leader of it or whatever, okay? Be specific, be clear, 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 clear. It's the most important advice I can give you. Your college admissions officers are not going to read your essay for a long time. If your essay is confusing, they will stop reading it, and that is not a good thing for you, okay? So please be clear. Should you type this in the box right now, okay? No, you should not. You should copy this question, paste it into a Google Doc. Also, take note of how many characters the question is asking for. This question gives you 1,500 characters. And when you start typing, you will see, okay, it's being a little slow here, that this is characters with spaces. They're counting spaces. Only this short little bit here is 40 characters, okay? So you want to make sure that you're recording. What's the question? How many words or characters do I have? Is it with or without spaces? And then in a Google Doc, you start typing your answer, and you're going to then review that and send it to people to help you, and go to the Reading and Writing Center virtually, and you're going to do all those wonderful things that you need to do to create strong essays. Okay. Now, I love this question of Stephen's. If you maintain an online presence that showcases your background, talents, or creativity, feel free to enter the URL here. Love it. Don't do this if there's anything crazy on your social media, because they will look at it. Sometimes they're going to look at it without asking for this. They're going to look you up on Insta. They're going to look you up on whatever. Okay. Be careful of your digital footprint. Go back and look. What can they find if they look up your name? Can they find you? Is what they find good, or is what they find not so good? Okay. Just be really, really cautious about this. That's one place where an essay question can live. The other place is documents. Yes, I'm not actually applying. Okay, check it out. Required. The personal statement helps colleges get to know you better as a person and a student. Please provide a statement discussing your educational past. How does continuing your education at a new institution help you achieve your future goals? Minimum 250 words, maximum 650. This is a very common question, or something like it, very similar, okay? You will, again, copy this, put it in your, Google Doc for Stevens. Write your answer, share your answer with people you trust, people who can really help you. And when you're done, you save it as a PDF, you upload it. This needs to be uploaded. The personal statement has a red asterisk, so it is required. The CV, though, a resume is not required, okay? So you can add other things, but they're not required. And then finally, your recommendations. So look at what's required. 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so you have to have an academic recommendation, and this has to be an RCC professor who has taught you, okay, who has taught you. Really, really important, preferably more than once, but they have to have taught you once, okay? Can you submit more? Yes, you can. You may. You can submit, 1 here and 2 there and 2 there and 3 there, but only 1 is required, all right? Let's do one more real quick. I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to touch on scripts. Let's take a quick look at the questions for scripts. I think they have more than Stevens did. So they're going to ask, here we go. Why have you chosen to apply to scripts? 200 words. Okay. So you're going to write that in a Google Doc. Let's go down a little bit more. Yeah. Please provide a statement that addresses your reasons for transferring and the objectives you hope to achieve. 5,000 characters. So you're going to work on that in a separate file, in a Google Doc. They don't have a separate documents tab here. Okay. So those are all the essay questions that you need from scripts. They're all here in the questions tab. Every college is different. Let's look at Cornell. Cornell is interesting for a lot of reasons. We're going to talk more about Cornell in a second, but Cornell, the question changes based on which part of Cornell you're applying to. And I'm going to go into a whole little diatribe on which part of Cornell you should and should not apply to in just a second. But for now, let's say that we want to apply to the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. You see how the screen did that little, circle-y thing? The question now is keyed to the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. If you had chosen a different part of Cornell to apply to, this question would be different. So you have to make sure that you're filling out all these answers, that you're paying close attention here. Okay? So I will answer any question you have. Well, I'll try to answer any question you have about the Common App, when we get back there. But I am now going to switch back to my presentation. All right, so that's the Common App in a nutshell. Let's have some elaboration here. I told you about that Cornell is a little tricky. Cornell is tricky because there are 7 colleges within Cornell, and actually they're kind of working on more. They're changing the way the business school fits into Cornell, and that's a whole big story, which is not a big deal. You can apply to the business school within Cornell if you want. It's one of those drop-down options. There are 3 colleges within Cornell that are traditionally transfer friendly. And these 3 colleges are the ones that RCC students go to. The majority of RCC students go to these 3 colleges, okay? Within Cornell, they're all part of Cornell University. They're all in the Ivy League, okay? But these 3, CALS, the College of Agriculture and Life Science, the College of Human Ecology, and the School of Industrial and Labor Relations. Those schools have lower tuition Also, they are not private. They are partially, public. And so they have lower tuition. You can use the Excelsior Scholarship if you have it on those schools. So they're cheaper, and also they are transfer friendly. Do not apply to the, oh dear, that was bad. Hang on one second. I'm gonna find a way back. There we go. Do not apply to the College of Arts and Sciences. Okay, don't do it unless the only possible major that you want is in the College of Arts and Sciences. So, for example, if I had to do this, I would have to apply to the College of Arts and Sciences, because when I was applying to college, I wanted to be a physics and English double major, and both of those majors are in the College of Arts and Sciences. But we have not had a student get into the College of Arts and Sciences in possibly ever. It's really been a long time if it ever happened. Not since I've been in charge of honors, and that's been 6 years now. Okay, and their transfer acceptance rate is like 1%. But I'll tell you, every year the honors program sees at least 2 students get accepted to Cornell in those other places, in those other parts. And those other parts of Cornell have awesome majors in them. Human ecology is like applied humanities. Psychology, biology, sociology, public health. I mean, there's so much going on in human ecology. Cal's, tons of really interesting majors. Industrial labor relations has 1 major, but it's a really cool one. It's a very interdisciplinary. You're looking at some political science. You're looking at some psychology. You're looking at labor history. It's really, really cool. Okay. I mentioned Columbia School of General Studies. You can apply to that part of Columbia if you meet those qualifications. There are other special programs out there. If, for example, you are a female identified student over the age of 24, you can apply to Smith College's Ada Comstock Scholars Program. That's also true, by the way, if you're under 24 and you have a dependent, like a child, okay? You can apply to Smith's Ada Comstock Scholars Program. We've had RCC students do it. Very excellent program. We had a student a few years ago, Rose, and Rose applied and was accepted and moved her 4 kids up to Northampton, and she got school-sponsored housing for them, and she is there working on her degree. Amazing story. She's a rock star. But yeah, we've had students do that. There are other programs like this. There's a program at Mount Holyoke, which is also near Northampton, Massachusetts. So if, this is why it's so important to do a lot of research and talk to your academic advisor or your honors mentor. Will help connect you to these kinds of really cool opportunities. With Georgetown, we have a special relationship with Georgetown called the Preferred Nominees Program. It means that our president and I work together to, when we hear about students who are interested in Georgetown, we work together to basically endorse them through RCC and through this Preferred Nominees Program. So if you're interested in applying to Georgetown, you definitely want to email me, okay? Email me as soon as possible when you know your interest. We will have to fill out those forms in February. So make sure you're emailing me, February, March, I think it is. So, email me if you're interested in Georgetown. I will put my email in the chat in case you don't know it when we're finished with the presentation. The CC-TOP program at NYU, that's a partial scholarship, need-based, okay? And you're only eligible for it if you apply from RCC or another one of the community colleges that is a partner with NYU, and we're one of them, and you're applying to certain parts of NYU. The Silver School of Social Work, the Steinhardt School, which has a lot of education, and also they have applied psychology majors, all the humanities majors in the College of Arts and Science. So unfortunately, none of the math and science majors, but all of the humanities majors. The nursing school, the Rory Myers College of Nursing. You are eligible to compete for this scholarship. It is competitive, and you have to have 60 transferable credits to be competitive. And that is tough because it's not just 60 credits, it's 60 credits that can transfer. So if you're interested in CC-TOP, please make sure that you speak to me or your advisor. The academic advisors know about it, the honors program folks know about it. We will help you make that connection to CC-TOP so that you can make a good plan for your application. And finally, there's a lot of other honors programs. So if you're in honors here, you could be in honors in SUNY. All right, that's really helpful. Think about that, look into that. We talked a little bit about this, so I'll just go through this very briefly. What's in this application? Well, you're going to have to provide some information about you and your family, your educational past and your future plans. You have to have that official high school transcript or your high school equivalency. You have to have your official transcript from all colleges attended. And by the way, if you took Syracuse, Albany, Dominican, stat classes in high school, you're going to have to get those transcripts too, okay? So please make sure you do that. You may need standardized test scores. You will probably need letters of recommendation. You'll probably need essays, and there's going to be a whole bunch of paperwork, which we already talked about a little bit, and I'll explain a little bit more in a minute. Okay, do you like my little animation there? Everybody hates standardized. I don't know one person who likes standardized tests. And I don't like them either. I don't think they're useful, but a lot of schools require them. So if you have a score on one of these tests, you want to compare it to the middle 50 range at your dream school, okay? Most schools are going to report the middle 50 range. So what that means is between the 25th and the 75th percentile fall within that range. I'm actually going to click out of this and I'm going to show you what that means. Vanderbilt has a really great explanation, okay? So most of the time, a school is going to report the middle 50. So for example, the middle 50 ACT score from the class of 2014 at Vanderbilt was 30 to 34 on the on the ACT, excuse me. What that means is, of the 1,600 first-year students that they accepted, 800, that's 50%, the middle 50, had scores that fall between 30 and 34. 400 students scored lower and 400 students scored higher. Okay? That's what the middle 50 means. If your score is in the middle 50, you're good to go. If your score is not in the middle 50, then you want to retake the test, okay? Are SATs as important and ACTs? Are they as important as they would have been for you as a first-year student, as a high school senior applying as a first-year student? Generally, no. And that's why a lot of schools don't require them for transfer students. But if your scores are very low and you're applying to a very prestigious university that requires the scores, you should probably take the test again, okay? Just because you don't want a red flag in your application. Now, for all of the ways in which this year is awful, there is one good thing that has come out of this year. Many schools, including the most prestigious schools, have started to waive their SAT and ACT requirements because of COVID. So do some looking before you start panicking about standardized tests. Do that research. See if your school actually needs them. If they don't, then don't worry about it. Don't give them a second look, okay? Remember too, if you do need to prep, the Khan Academy offers free SAT assistance. We talked a little about letters. Make sure you're giving your recommenders time, okay? Please, please, please. Don't hesitate to reach out now, okay? And give your recommenders a heads up. Dear Professor so-and-so, you know, just as a reminder here, this is who I am, right? I took your, you know, microeconomics class last semester. You know, I'm applying as a transfer student to these colleges. May I please have a letter of recommendation for you? If you agree, I will input your name into the common application and they will send you a message about how to proceed. That's a great letter to send to your professor. Your professor may ask you for more information. They may ask you for a resume. They may ask you for, you know, a statement about what you plan to study or what kinds of extracurriculars you've been doing. But you can at least initiate with that message. You know, don't start the message with hey, don't start the message with so or lowercase letters. Be respectful and polite. You are asking somebody, right, for something professional, all right? You know, that's important. So make sure that you are asking your faculty in plenty of time, at least 2 weeks. And if you are asking over a holiday of some kind, you need to give them more than 2 weeks because a lot of us have family obligations and things of that nature, okay? So you want professors who have taught you and who you've done well in their classes. You want those to be your people who you ask for recommendations. All right. We talked about essays. There's a lot of different options for essays. A lot of schools have a variety of prompts. I think the worst is Columbia that has like, I don't know, 5 or 6 different short essays. It's pretty wild. But you can do it and we will help you. This is a very common prompt for an essay. State why you're transferring and what you hope to achieve. Make sure that you are being authentic, but you also want to be professional. Authentic but professional and clear, clear, clear. Okay? You have to start this now. All right? This first process is research. So no, you're not going to look at your essays before research. But once you know which schools you're applying to, it's time to start thinking about those essays. It takes a lot of time to get an essay right, okay? To get it to a place where you're proud of it, and it's going to do that work that is going to help you, achieve your goal of getting into that school. So just make sure that you are answering the question. Really important, you must answer the question, okay? You must use your own past accomplishments, detailed anecdotes about what you have done to support that answer, okay? Really, really important here. I do a lot of work with essays. I'm happy to read yours, happy to help, okay? So is the Reading and Writing Center. So are other English professors. You may have family members who can help you as well. Use everybody and make sure you are polite, okay? Because they are giving you time when they help you with your essays. We talked about the paperwork. Just as a quick refresher, there is the college report, the midterm report, and then if you need an application fee waiver, you need to take the steps necessary to get it. You'll see that I have some question marks in the bottom of this. I wasn't able to get an answer quickly enough from the advising staff. I did just ask them this morning, so it's not their fault, it's my fault. But I wasn't able to know exactly who you need, okay, if you are going for an application fee waiver. It looks like you can probably get an advisor. That's what I think. But if I get a concrete answer on this, I will let you know, and I'll include it in the presentation that I send out to you as a PDF. Okay, so I'm still waiting on that answer. You can, if you're an honors student, you can ask for my help. You can ask for Carol's help. We have a lot of experience doing these kinds of things. Okay. And then finally, we want to talk about scholarships. We're almost there to interactive component and Q&A, so just hang with me a few more minutes. There are so many scholarships out there. Start searching Google. Think about where your parent or parents work. Think about, your religion, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your career choice. There may be organizations that give you scholarships based on all of those things. So do some Google searching. You're looking for transfer scholarships, not first-year student scholarships, transfer scholarships. Phi Theta Kappa offers giant scholarships, which are amazing. Some four-year schools offer scholarships for Phi Theta Kappa members. Do your research. Check out PTK Connect if you're a part of Phi Theta Kappa. And RCC has scholarships, and you can apply for those every spring. So in February, March, you'll be able to apply for those scholarships through RCC. All right, here's your timeline. We are on September 31st. In October, you want to start thinking about your faculty recommenders, research your four-year universities, research scholarship opportunities, set aside 10 to 15 minutes every day to do this kind of thing, and you will actually be in really good shape, okay? By November 15th, try to make that your deadline for deciding where you will apply. You may still have some places up in the air, but try to, hammer out that list that you have. Make sure you have one safe, one target, and one reach school at least. You can multiply those by any factor you want, but you have to have at least the safe and target schools, okay? The reach schools are optional. December, finish the semester strong. This is the last time that a college will see your grades before they accept you. But please note that you will have to send in your grades from the spring of 2021 to the college. So don't slack off in the spring, but they're going to accept you before they get your final grades from the spring, okay? So they are accepting you based on your transcript up through December of this year. So make sure that you are being as awesome as you can. Get the help you need. Go to office hours, go to tutoring, go to the writing center. Do everything you can to succeed, okay? Be awesome and have a strong transcript. By January 1st, if you can, try to have a rough draft or outline of each essay so you've gotten started. In January, revise your essays and pull together your other requirements. Try not to take a winter class, friends. Try not to do it. Spend all your time in January doing your college applications, because I'll tell you, when the semester starts again in late January, you're going to have a bunch of homework to do. And then you're going to have this on top of homework, and you don't want that, okay? This is like a part-time job, especially if you're applying to fancy schools. In February, start submitting your applications, order your transcripts, right? Some of you, you're going to have to do this a little earlier if you're applying to CUNY. You need to be lining up all those ducks a little earlier than this, because you've got to order your transcripts in January. You have to turn in that application by February 1st. So, make sure that you are looking at your deadlines. This is just a rough guide. April through June, make sure you complete the FAFSA, and some private schools ask you for something called the CSS profile, okay? If your school asks for that, make sure you fill out that information. That's to help the school give you financial aid, okay? And you want them to be able to do that. And also remember to apply for scholarships. Okay, now before we get to Yoda, all right, we're gonna do a quick Kahoot. I promise it's quick. You know how Kahoot works, okay? Let me see. I don't know why my chat won't show up, but I'm going to type things in the chat. I'm going to give you the pin, the little ID that you need. We're going to play this Kahoot, and it's a quick 8-person Kahoot, and it's just going to give you a chance to finally interact and also, you know, solidify what we've learned. And then we're going to do Q&A for the rest of the time. Okay. So here's the pin. In just a second, I will give it to you. All right. Here we go. Right, here it is. Oh, hang on, everybody. There's the pin. So you go to kahoot.it, okay, or you have your Kahoot app. You can join with any name you want, okay? Give it about a minute. If you're not in the mood to do a Kahoot, you don't have to do this, but go ahead, join. I'm going to share the screen here. Okay. Come on down. Be whoever you want. All right. Love it. Okay, imposter. Oh no. Have we been playing Among Us? Yes. Are you feeling, I know you are. I know. Listen, if we could, oh, wait a second, guys. Hang on, I'm gonna stop sharing this for a second. I can share the audio with you. I forgot about that. Hang on, you all keep going, you keep entering, but I can actually make it play the music for you. I'm so excited to do that. Okay, there we go. Last great song. Great. Keep them coming. Glad to see everybody in here. Okay. Putin's puppy. Wow, that's something. So it looks like everybody wants to play Among Us, I think. Okay. Let's see. All right. Oh, Hodor is in the house. Fantastic. Great. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start it up, okay, in just a minute. I'm going to start it up. Oh, sorry, hang on. For some reason, this has never happened to me before, but for some reason I am, okay, good. All right, we've got some stuff happening in the chat. That's fine. All right, here we go. I'm going to start it up. It's time. Here we go. So, first question. To find the most recent transfer admission statistics, Google a college's name and the phrase what? Is it cumulative GPA, common data set, transfer students, or nothing? Whoops. Don't worry, I didn't make a mistake on this one. The right answer is available to you, and you all should be able to get it. Hopefully you all will. Okay, common data set. Okay, good. So that's the one. The most recent transfer admission statistics, common data set with a college's name. Okay, that's what you do. Do it tonight, later. All right. Next one, true or false? You must apply to at least one safe, one target, and one reach school. True or false? I think most people are going to get this one too. Okay, true. You must. Okay, you have to, and it's really, really, really important, especially the safe option. You have to at least apply to a safe school. Okay, so good. Let's move forward. Question 3, an academic recommendation must come from whom? Is it a family friend, an employer, a faculty member who has taught you at least once, or a financial aid officer when you look at the academic recommendation? Okay, academic recommendation. Who does that have to come from? Okay, good. A faculty member who has taught you at least once. Well done. Really, really excellent job there. We have Captain still in the lead, but is close behind. True or false? All 4-year colleges have an identical application process for transfer students. True or false? It's totally identical. What say you? Okay, false. You are right. They do not. Every school asks for different things, and that's really, really, really important. Okay, so make sure you do your research. Captain in the lead, cat close behind. Here we go. Number 5. Which one of these colleges within Cornell University is not transfer friendly? Is it the College of Arts and Science, the College of Human Ecology, the College of Agriculture and Life Science, or the School of Industrial Labor Relations? Good, very good. One of them is not transfer friendly, and it is that one. Okay, you can still apply to it, but the transfer acceptance rate is roughly 1%. Okay, wow, a bunch of people, did not quite manage to get that one. All right, that's okay. It's good to review. Second to last question: the CC Top Scholarship is a competitive scholarship offered by which university? Is it Pace, Cornell, New York University, or Columbia University? Which one offers CC Top? The scholarship. Okay, good. It's New York University. The CC Top Scholarship is the Community College Transfer Opportunity Program. It's affiliated with NYU. Last question. Here we go. Let's see who is going to win. Before submitting a transfer essay, you should do what? Should you revise it multiple times? Should you take it to the Reading and Writing Center, show it to a trusted English faculty member, or all of the above? Okay, the answer is all of the above. Very good. You should do all of these things. It's really, really important to do them all. Okay, you want lots and lots of eyes on this, and that means you need to start early. Let's see who won, and then we are going to do Q&A. So in third place, Kat. Well done, Kat. In second place, the silver, last brain cell. I feel you. And in first place, the gold medal. Which is how we're all feeling right now. Congratulations, everybody. Okay, runners up, Amna and Aaron. Well done. Let's do this. It is time for your questions, friends. I am going to also turn the music off because it's still playing in my ears. All right, so time for your questions, everybody. Let's go for it. First of all, any of the mentors here want to have any quick comments that they want to say, or any information they want to share? Because I know we have a few mentors here. I really appreciate your being here.
Katie?
Any mentors? Yeah, please go ahead, Peter.
It's Peter. How are you? Very nice job again. I just had a question about the college report. I think initially you said that students would give it to you, and then in one of your slides, I saw the registrar. So is it either one?
Yeah, so if you're in the honors program, you give it to me. If not, okay. I'm trying to find out specifically whether it's still the registrar, and I think it is, but I haven't gotten an answer back. It's my fault because I only asked them this morning. So if you're not in the honors program, just make sure that you sort of do some research. Talk to your advisor. That's where I would start if you're not in the honors program. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If you're in honors, you can give it to me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let me look at the chat. Okay, yes, so a good question. Can we apply for scholarships after we are accepted to a school? Yes, but you want to make sure you're not missing deadlines. So you just do your research on that. Like, are the scholarships that are available from that school or from other places, are you going to only, are you going to miss the deadline on that, right? That's why you want to do your homework on that particular question. Let's see, advice on international schools. I don't really have advice except to do your research. I have worked with a few students who have applied and been accepted to international schools. I'll help you every step of the way. It's not something I see a lot of, but I encourage you to do it, and just make sure you're doing that research early so that we both know what you need, and I'll help you get whatever you need, or so will your mentor if it's not me. Okay, great question. So question about what the transfer agreement is like for SUNYs like Binghamton and Buffalo. In general, SUNY as a system has what's called seamless transfer, meaning that we have an agreement that credit should transfer within the system. So that means you should be able to transfer most of your credit to a place like that. There are a few places that have something more ironclad called articulation agreements that say, if you want to enter a particular major in a specific school, you can do these very specific things at RCC to do that. Those are, again, they're very particular. So, it might be something to hash out with your mentor, right? Like, what is it that your goal is? Do we have something specific? I've found that generally credits transfer really well, really well. So yeah, the only time that's not true is if you're changing your major. So if you have a radical major change, then your credits might not transfer well. Otherwise, they usually do. All right, great question. Okay, so Marina, that is a great question. Ask Ian. Okay, Ian's the one to ask. You know, Cornell will take care of that question for you. I don't think you have to. I think that it's a separate thing. But if you want to apply to other schools as well, then you may well need the Common App. Yeah, no, great question. All right, feel free to put stuff in chat. Feel free to unmute yourself too. What else is on your mind? There's a lot here. Listen, if we were in person, Carol would have ordered pizza for you. And we'd be trying to make you feel better right now, okay? Because it's like, it's intense, guys, I know. Yeah. All right, listen, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna quickly run through the rest of my presentation because I know, I love Carol. So it has a couple other things that might make you smile, and I think we could all use that. Just give me 1 second. Here we're on the Yoda screen, okay? Here, so, you know, look, there's my fun Marvel gif. If it's making you feel like this, if you're already feeling like this, you are not alone in this, okay? You can get through this. You can do a great job with this. But, you know, again, you want to start early, and that's important. You're not too late. You are right where you should be. You're here getting help. When you start early and you make a plan and you research wisely and you ask for help and you support each other, you will power through this process just like Captain Marvel, okay? You might not glow like her, but you will power through. She's pretty amazing. And, you know, if you're really struggling, I want you to visit counseling services. And even if you're not really struggling and you're just struggling a little bit, visit counseling services. If you want help connecting to counseling, I will help you. It is okay to be stressed right now. It is okay to be stressed right now, but the problem comes when the stress stops you from making progress, and that is when you should reach out for help, okay? And even before that too. If you are really extra stressed, one thing that we can do is we can watch this little clip of cuteness. But I'm also really happy. I'm gonna open that up, but I also want to hear more questions. So I'll stop sharing for now. What else is on your mind? Okay, so Daniel's asking, do you think AP credits from high school could transfer? Yes, actually. So if you have AP credits, you'll have to send your College Board score report to your college. Don't do that until after you're accepted, but then yes, if the AP scores were accepted by RCC, they may transfer in as the credit they were accepted at RCC. If not, you'll have to have the College Board send the credit in. So for example, some of you took AP courses that are science courses that RCC doesn't accept. You could send those AP courses in and see if your next school will take them, okay? For the international student, when we apply to transfer, you apply as an international student or a transfer. You should apply as a transfer student but you want to make it clear that you're also an international student, right? And if you have questions about which application you're supposed to fill out, because that's a great question, reach out to that school and explain, I am applying as an international student, but I'm also a transfer student. Should I use, you know, the transfer application? Yes, right, probably, because you are a transfer student. You also are an international student. My understanding is that most of the time the international student application is for the first year students, but you want to get clarity on that from the institution, from the college. Let's see. Yes, student success is here for you. Student success is here. Your academic advisor is here. If you're in honors, your honors mentor is here. Counseling, everybody is here for you. There's a lot of love at RCC for you all, okay? Kellen, if you did an internship in high school, should we include it in our transfer application? If it was late in high school and if it was super awesome, then I would say yes. But in general, you want to avoid including high school stuff, especially that if it wasn't like, you know, senior year. Mostly you want to focus on what you've done over the past year and a half. Here's the other answer I would give you, Kellen. In the world of COVID, why not? Because you probably didn't get to do some things that you wanted to do. So if something really awesome happened in high school and you were fantastic at something and it was a great experience, go ahead and include it. But for your essays, for the most part, you're going to want to touch on things you've been doing while at RCC. Okay, great question. What else? Anybody want to unmute and talk to me?
Yeah, Dr. Lynch, I have a quick question.
Hey, John.
So if we applied for an internship, got in, and then it got canceled, is that something that we could like speak about, or probably not?
That's a great question. I mean, you can't really put it down as an experience. You know, I would say some applications would, if it was competitive and you were accepted to it, then I think you could put it down maybe on a resume, but then you would have to say that you couldn't actually do it because of COVID. That's probably what I would do. Anybody have a better answer to that question? I think
So
that's
like
what I would
putting
do
it
because you
into,
were accepted to it.
yeah, like, okay.
But you can't misrepresent it, right, as something you actually did. It's not your fault it got canceled. So I would say I was accepted to this internship, but the internship was canceled because of COVID. And if it was a very competitive thing, then make that clear however you're talking about it. Yeah.
Katie?
Okay.
Katie?
Yeah.
That's Peter again. I just wanted to add, usually what we do is we let the student do a substitute for the internship. So something that would be very smart would be for the student to indicate that they were set to do an internship. It was canceled due to COVID-19, and they did this instead.
Yeah.
So that's one way to sort of get it in there indirectly, that it wasn't their fault that it was canceled.
Yeah, I think that's very smart. So yes, if you were planning to do it for your internship credit, you could always put that in an essay. You could say, you know, and I've seen students do that already. So to Professor Arvanice's great point, you know, you can say, these are the things I was going to do, and then I had to do something else because of COVID. And you all are applying in a time when, you know, it's so odd. We don't know what's really going to happen. A lot of the opportunities you were going to avail yourself of were not open to you. That's really hard. What I would do though is when you are representing yourself in those essays, try not to throw a pity party. Okay. We all know that COVID has been bad for all of us. It's been really damaging for some of us in particular, and it's been bad for all of us. Instead, try to tell them what you've done to make the most out of the experience. So for example, you know, there was a student who wanted to do an internship, but couldn't, and actually took a Chinese class instead. How cool is that, right? Learning a new language. Flip that around to being like, so I took the opportunity to learn Chinese instead, you know? And if you're, I don't mean to like, you know, just completely be Pollyanna about it, which is a reference that may not be coming through. That means like, you know, having rose-colored glasses on, you know, like, oh, everything is dandy. I just mean that if you've got challenges that you're talking about overcoming, whether they're COVID related or not, you want to focus on what you did to overcome them and how you made the best of it instead of focusing on how awful everything is or was. That's a general rule of thumb. It's okay to talk about your challenges, but you want to focus on the positive thing that you did to overcome the challenges. Yeah. Great. That's a great discussion. A great question. Yes. And Tatiana, thank you for saying that. It's so true. It's so true. And we, you know, in our culture a little bit, we tend to do something called pathologizing stress, meaning all stress is bad. To be honest, friends, all stress is not bad. Some stress is good. Stress actually motivates you. But what's a problem is, again, when that stress paralyzes you, then it's not good. And we've all been there. You're not going to get judged for thinking this is hard. You're not going to get judged for asking for help. Okay, so just remember that. Great questions. And Skylar, that concern is so legitimate. Skylar's concern is worrying about juggling classwork and transfer applications. And that's why my advice is try to get the lion's share of this done in January, and don't take classes in January if you can avoid it, because then you will have most of it done by the time your next semester starts up again. Okay. And, you know, yeah, there may be still a few things you need to do, but you can plan. All right. There will be essay workshops. Okay, I will run some essay workshops where I'll show you some essays that were successful in the past, and we'll talk about essays. We'll do that maybe in November and December. And so there'll be more opportunities to get together and talk about this. You can book my office hours. You can, you know, talk to your mentor, talk to the academic advisor. Lots of resources. Matt, my advice is again, January, try to get it done before you have to do it. Try to get it done before you have to balance. Otherwise, you're going to time box, meaning you're going to say, I'm going to spend half an hour every day, 3 days a week, whatever it is, on my applications. I will not let my schoolwork cross over into that time, right? Like that's a strategy as well if you absolutely have to have them overlap. Okay. Sam, good question. Does it matter how long ago you took the professor's class? Well, you want it to be fairly recent if you can have it. You want that professor to remember you. That's really important. But you know, if it was, I think that's like an individual thing. I'm not sure I can give great general advice on that. But you know, just make sure the professor can speak powerfully to you and what you do, and make sure the professor remembers who you are and what you contributed. And it's not too late to form a great relationship with a professor, right? We're on September 30th. We've only had 4 weeks of class. So you want to forge a great relationship with a professor? Start going to some office hours, right? Kristen, what other websites do you recommend for scholarships? I recommend Google. I recommend PTK Connect if you're in PTK. I would talk to your academic advisor about that. They may have other ideas. Those are the ones I know the best. Think about your church, your, you know, organizations that you belong to, organizations that parents may belong to, or employ, you know, jobs. Sometimes they offer scholarships. Let's see, Fiona, do you think there will be an increase in competition because when it comes to schools with on-campus classes currently, as opposed to those completely virtual? So I'm not entirely sure what you mean. Do I think there'll be more competition to get into schools that are going to have on-campus classes? Is that what you mean? Feel free to unmute if you want to rephrase.
I think they mean to get the full college experience, like actually being on campus and stuff.
Okay.
Having the experience.
Friend,
they may be
I
more
don't think
excited.
anybody is getting the full college experience. And Olivia, thank you for that. Fiona, sorry, did you want to say? No. So first of all, I don't think anyone is having a normal college experience right now. Secondly, right now, including, you know, for the fall, hopefully we're all going to be back in person. I hope. We don't know that, but yeah, I would say do as much as you can, right? There are clubs, there are ways to get involved now. Do as much with your community, with other things. Do as much as you can there, okay? But, you know, we're all limited. This is a very strange time to be doing this, to be applying. Work with what you've got, okay? Let's see, I got a couple others. Alex, is it a professor from this semester? Is that all right? Yes, absolutely. You know, it's great if you had more of a relationship with that professor, but if you can really, if that professor and you are really clicking and they can write a lot about you, that's great. Yeah, so that's totally fine. Yeah. Ideally, I would say it's a professor that's taught you like once or twice, but you know, if it's a professor teaching you now, you're going to submit those recommendations in the spring semester and they will have already given you a final grade. So they will be able to speak to the entirety of your work in that class. So yes, it's okay to ask someone whose class you're taking right now. Sam, if you want to do that extra, so Sam's question is it worth reaching out to a high school teacher or somebody in a high school for a recommendation? Not as a required recommendation, but as an extra recommendation, absolutely. Okay, so if you've got an academic recommendation that's required, that has to be a professor from here. If you have a recommendation that is optional, you can absolutely have someone from high school write it. Why not? You know, that's great. It can be someone you've worked for. It can be someone you volunteered for. It can be someone from high school. That's totally fine. Georgetown Georgetown. So yeah, Georgetown is looking for 4.0. Georgetown wants perfection. I've seen students get in with a 3.6. That was awesome. But Georgetown is looking for the most perfect you can be. That's a tier 1 school. So in general, the tier 1s, you're most competitive if you're in 3.7 to 4.0 range. We did have someone get into Georgetown with a 3.6 a few years ago. Yeah, we have every once in a while. So with Georgetown, it's like one every 2-ish years that gets into Georgetown. And we have a comment from Noreen about Naviance and College Board. Noreen, I appreciate that comment. Make sure when you do your research on Naviance and College Board that they are transfer scholarships. Naviance is mostly used by, the high school first year student kind of relationship in college. So Naviance may have transfer scholarships, but you always want to make sure you're looking for transfer, not for first year students. That doesn't mean you shouldn't look. It just means be careful. Make sure you're looking for the right thing. If it's an option on the Common App, then yeah, do it. Absolutely. Matt, can letters be reused? So yes, I'm glad you asked that question. When you put a professor's name in to the recommender part of the Common App, that professor will send a letter in, and they can actually choose whether that letter is going to be reused by each institution that you apply to. So you can a professor can write a generic letter, or a professor can write a targeted letter to a school. And, some professors do it one way, some professors do it another way. To be quite honest with you, it's a lot easier for your faculty to write the more generic letter that is not targeting a specific school. Okay. Cornell, Lester, is that you, Lester? Cornell is again, Ivy League. They're all looking for perfection. I've seen people get in with, again, 3.5 or higher is really that's for sure. I've seen people get in with 3.6, but you're really looking 3.7 to 4.0 is the most competitive range. You should apply if you have a 3.5 or higher. I'm not, saying you shouldn't apply, but there's only one way to not get in, which is to not apply. So apply, try it out. Is a targeted letter stronger? I don't think so, Skylar. I don't think so. I think that schools generally know what the faculty are up against. So, yeah. That's a good question. I don't technically know the answer to that, but I haven't noticed a problem with students getting into places, so I wouldn't worry. Awesome. Where can you check your current GPA? Awesome question, Marina. You can check it in your student profile, okay, in self-service. Now, if you just started here at RCC and you've never taken any RCC classes in your high school, then you won't have a GPA, okay? I personally think your GPA is 4.0, but the system's going to tell you it's 0. So that's a slightly different philosophy. You'll have one in December.
So I have a question.
Sure.
You know how some colleges say some writing is optional? Do you think it would give you an edge if you did the optional writings, or does it really not matter if you do it or not?
It probably doesn't really matter. I would only do the optional if you have a good reason for it and if you think you can do it really well. But for example, sometimes a school will give you an optional question that says, is there anything you'd like to explain about your application? And then if you've withdrawn from a class, or if you have an incomplete, or if you got a low grade in a class, you might use that space that is optional to talk about that a little bit. But if they're giving you an optional space that's a little more generic, use it if you think something is missing from your application. Use it if you really think you can do a good job with it, but I wouldn't feel too pressured to use it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the recording, I am going to send the recording out as soon as it's finished. It's going to take Zoom some time to process it. When it's finished, I will send it out to the honor students. They're the emails that I have, but I'm also going to send it out to all of the academic advisors, and they will make it available to anybody who's not in the honors program. And that actually leads me to something, which is this. If you wouldn't mind, there is a very, very quick, it's going to take you like 2 minutes, survey that you could take for me that would help me understand what worked about this and what didn't work about it, okay? If you wouldn't mind taking that survey, that's great. Be honest. This is something that I'm always trying to improve. I really appreciate your feedback. I've learned so much from you over the years. You are an incredibly important part of helping future peers with this process. So, anything else? So here's my email, as I promised. Okay, here's my email. If you and I have never interacted, you're welcome to write to me. If you have, great. I'll be happy to talk to you. So Matt, yes, start the Common App now. that's great. You know, if you know you're going to have to use it to apply to at least one school, then you may as well start filling out those questions now, and you can continue to add schools to it. It's a good question. Okay, don't send any transcripts until after this semester is over, until January, okay? Because then your transcript will have all of your fall semester classes on it. Okay. All right, friends, I am thinking of you. I know you can do this. I know you can do it really well. I'm excited for you, and we're all here to help. So I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to, look forward to hearing your questions over email in my office hours as you're working on your essays. Thank you all for your attention today. I know this was long, and